A deadly fire.
We had a clever perpetrator who had thought out this crime.
A baffling scene.
It was getting frustrating, hitting dead end after dead end after dead end.
Can a psychic pull the truth from a pile of ashes?
Everybody leaves a trail. Everybody.
Albany 911 needs police by ambulance.
Albany, Georgia, a September afternoon.
Dispatch notified us that there was a fire right off of Gillenville Road. It was raging by the time the fire department got there. It was a pretty hot fire.
Call came in at 4:27 p.m. and within 2 minutes the fire was under control.
When the firemen got the blaze out and went in to make the search,
there was a young body, young female, in the living room that had been burnt.
everyone was thinking that the house caught on fire and she grabbed something to put under her in an attempt to save herself.
According to her devastated mother, young Jessica Reinhardt was used to staying home alone after school.
No one likes to see anyone die in a violent nature.
This was tragic.
But investigators soon realize there's more to this terrible story than meets the eye.
The coroner was able to determine that the victim died from blunt force injuries and stab wounds.
And at this time, we knew we were not dealing with an accidental death anymore, that we were dealing with a homicide.
We began conducting a murder investigation.
Police and arson investigators team up to search for evidence.
There were numerous items that were taken and processed, trying to help us to determine how and why this young lady was murdered. Adjacent to the little girl was a weight laying on the floor. The weight was removed. There were hair fragments that were removed.
The fire had destroyed a lot of the physical evidence that one would normally find at a crime scene of this nature.
We knew we had a hard job ahead of us in solving this.
We had a clever perpetrator who had thought out this crime.
A perpetrator who made sure he left no trace behind.
Let's go to work.
Police quickly take to the streets.
We went out and started canvassing the neighborhood. We canvassed all the way from her school to her home, and we talked to anybody that might have possibly seen this child. The only person we could come up with was a school crossing guard, where this child had stopped and actually talked to him on the way home from school this particular day.
But all he saw was Jessica safely entering her house. Desperate for even the slimmest lead, police review the fire department's files. There, they make a suspicious discovery.
A fireman went to the neighbors trying to get them out because he didn't want the fire to spread to any additional houses and cause any harm to anybody. There was one neighbor who was a teacher who just acted very peculiar. He just sort of slammed the door, and it was a long time before he came out. We felt like he might have been trying to cover up something.
Investigators haul the neighbor in for questioning.
We interviewed him, we asked him a bunch of questions. Some could not be answered to our satisfaction. He refused to leave, even after the fire. So he became our prime suspect. But there was nothing concrete that we were able to develop where we could charge this neighbor with anything. We decided we would keep him under surveillance to give us some time to do the footwork and background on this particular suspect.
While police build their case against the neighbor, fear and frustration set in.
The entire community was up in arms in regards to this particular crime.
And everyone became terrified.
One local woman is particularly struck by the story.
When I hear about homicides, naturally my antenna goes up, and I wondered if there was something that I could do.
As psychic Karen Prezant learns more about the case, bizarre visions fill her mind.
Blonde-haired man, young man, rabbits, animals, cage outside, 3 rabbits. Everybody leaves a trail, trail.
She calls police.
I was notified by one of my officers, Detective Folsom. There was a lady on the phone that wanted to talk to me about the Jessica Reinhart murder. She identified herself as Karen Prezant and told me she was a psychic.
I really didn't know what he would think about someone who does my kind of work.
And I thought, well, I've got a nutcase here, or I've possibly got somebody that has information that they're going to give me on this homicide.
Detective Folsom is skeptical. But what the psychic has to say is about to turn the whole investigation around. Police in Albany, Georgia, are desperate to solve the Jessica Reinhart murder.
We had an intentionally set fire that was to conceal a crime, and the crime was murder.
We were actually working night and day trying to solve this case.
But so far, the only person claiming to have a lead on the killer is psychic Karen Prezant.
I've been working with law enforcement for over 30 years. 99.999% of my cases have been murder cases.
But Detective Folsom is suspicious of Prezant.
I felt like at this time this might be somebody with knowledge of this homicide that was wanting to clear their conscience. I wasn't about to let this opportunity pass by, and I was going to talk to this person to see what they knew. Within about 30 minutes after hanging up the phone, Karen Prezant came walking into the detective division. I was ready to go on with this interview to see what she could tell me. I will not tell you anything about my investigation. I will, however, show you some crime scene photos.
I work very well with maps. I work very well with photos.
Rabbits.
Find the rabbits. The killer leaves a trail.
The killer.
White male, blonde-haired man, young man. I can tell you he's about 5'9" to 5'11".
She began giving me a physical description of a young, unkempt white male,
Sandy blonde hair.
sandy, blondish-colored hair. I'll tell you straight up, what you just told me doesn't really fit the suspect that we have, and we do have a suspect.
I certainly don't mean any disrespect. I can't shake the feeling you're looking at the wrong guy.
She told me that we were focused on the wrong person, and I had absolutely told her nothing about our suspect. She told me at this time that I probably had blinders on, that I needed to remove my blinders and start looking for a younger white male.
Impressed by Karen's tenacity and with nowhere else to turn, the detective takes her to the crime scene to see if she can pick up the killer's trail.
As I walked through the front door, it was like entering another world. I see a man come out of the back, the kitchen area. He's got the blonde hair. Suddenly, I had a complete visual of who had committed this crime. I see a knife. I see him coming towards her. Knife. He's losing his temper, a barbell, and he hits her. It's over very fast. I can just see her. She's down here, and he just realized that he had to finish her off. he sets the house on fire. He was trying to cover up the evidence.
She began telling me things that occurred inside the crime scene that I knew and my investigators knew, but it hadn't been released to the general public.
I feel like Jessica has 3 rabbits. I can see his energy trail.
Rabbits.
He took the rabbits, finds the rabbits.
I was just sort of wondering, well, how in the world does she know this about the rabbits? When we initially worked the crime scene, there were some cages in the rear of this house and it had rabbits in it. The rabbits had been stolen during the night, even with the officer guarding the house.
And the psychic has insight into the mysterious disappearance.
I knew this young man came back at another time to get the rabbits.
Maybe the person who killed her had came back in an attempt to get a trophy from this location.
Find the stolen animals and they could find the killer. But this rabbit hunt will take investigators on a wild ride. Psychic Karen Prezant has envisioned Jessica Reinhardt's killer with alarming clarity.
White male, he's a loner. Blonde hair, he's a loner.
At that point, I got real curious about what all she could tell me. We got in my vehicle and we rode around the vicinity of where the fire was.
Police officers have told me I was like a bird dog hunting a scent.
Do you feel like he's a transient, someone passing through?
No, this is his neighborhood.
Okay.
He knows this neighborhood the way you know a beat. This is his beat.
As they continue to drive, Karen picks up on the killer's trail.
I feel like I want to follow these railroad tracks, and I want to turn left here. He came down this road. You know what, pull in here.
At certain points, she would tell me to stop and she would point to a location and she would say, the guy you're looking for has been here.
He's been here. I can tell. I can feel his energy.
It's like he's standing right in front of me. I can touch him.
And I can tell you he's also committed a crime here.
We went to 7 or 8 locations where the same thing happened, like bowling alleys, schools,
Over here.
residences,
There.
playgrounds.
You know what? He likes to sit at the bench here.
It's so close.
Check these places.
Someone will have seen him.
And she likes to sit here.
What I'll do is go back and pull incident reports and see if we have anything matching the description of the white male you gave me earlier. I went back to the station and I started digging into old incident reports. I was able to determine we had a young white male around 17 or 18 years old, sort of skinny, raw bone looking, blonde hair. He looked unkempt. That had been seen at all of these locations that me and Karen had talked about.
He's been here. I can tell.
White male, blonde-haired young man, not well kept.
Just as the psychic described.
After we came up with these locations, which were basically the same places she had pointed out to me, I was somewhat in awe of what I was seeing. See if we can get a connection here.
If the psychic is right, police may finally have the killer in their sights.
We couldn't completely eliminate the neighbor that was our suspect. But after we came up with all of these reports, it could very well be the person we were looking for in our homicide.
But first, they have to track down this mystery man.
Well, we just went out and talked to all the witnesses. Then we went back to the particular locations and talked with the owners. trying to develop something on who this white male was.
Witnesses all describe the same suspect, but the man's identity remains unknown.
We were absolutely unable to come up with anything.
And once again, the case stalls out.
It was getting frustrating, hitting dead end after dead end after dead end.
Police hope the psychic can give them the jump start they so desperately need.
I wanted you to come back in to see maybe if you had any more thoughts that you could share with me since we talked last.
Actually, last night, a couple of names started running through my head. Hearing the name Lucille, Marilyn, over and over in my head. Lucille, Marilyn. The two names that have been going through my head are Lucille. I don't know if that means anything to you, but the other name also is Marilyn. And I don't know if the perpetrator is from Maryland or if it's a license plate or a state or a road. It's kind of like pieces of a puzzle. You know, you keep getting little pieces and then eventually the whole puzzle appears.
But the names mean nothing to the detective. Then, Folsom gets a promising invitation.
Narcotics was fixing to serve a search warrant on a young white male matching the description of the young white male on the cases I had been following up on, and wanted to know if I would like to tag along and get a look at this guy when they executed their search warrant.
The suspect's name is William Carpenter.
Nobody seemed to know anything about him.
Lucille, Marilyn.
Pieces of a puzzle. Eventually the whole puzzle appears.
When Folsom discovers that Carpenter lives off Maryland Drive on Lucille Street, he knows he's on the right track. And what he finds inside will shock everyone to the core.
I got real interested in the person they were fixing to serve a search warrant on. The person they were looking for, who was Billy Carpenter, wasn't there. Where is Billy?
Billy's mother says that her son is staying with relatives 30 miles away.
Just keep her right here. Okay. On the refrigerator, I found a knife, and it appeared to have some residue on it. Let's bag that rub. I just felt like this knife might have been used for something else.
And in Billy's bedroom, they make a startling discovery.
We look under the bed, lo and behold, the rabbit that has been missing was found under the bed. We catch the rabbit and get him up in the light.
It looks exactly like one stolen from the Reinhardts.
Those markings that were so distinct were on the rabbit, and they were also in the photograph. We knew we had the missing rabbits that were stolen from the homicide.
I think the investigation kicked up about 3 notches when we could determine that this was the same rabbit.
Headquarters, I need you to put a lookout on a white male, William Billy Carpenter, age 17.
He is quickly apprehended in the neighboring county.
Blonde-haired man, skinny, not well kept.
Detectives are astounded. Carpenter fits the psychic's description to a T. He confesses to committing several minor crimes around town.
Then we advised him we had something more serious to talk about. We found a rabbit under your bed.
Upon interviewing him and confronting him with the facts, he confessed.
Carpenter admits he killed Jessica Reinhardt, then set the fire to cover the crime. Police believe the mentally unstable young man was robbing the house when Jessica came home and surprised him.
William Carpenter was convicted of felony murder and arson in the first degree.
The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Psychic intuition and solid police work have landed a dangerous criminal behind bars.
The time I spent with Karen, I thought she gave me a lot of insight.
I feel that it's highly unusual to bring in a psychic individual into an investigation, but if traditional techniques doesn't produce, then use whatever methods are available.
And I think with someone like Karen coming in and getting you refocused, that sometimes that's not a bad combination.